Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. You are watching the Paris Fintech Forum Community video interview series. I'm Elliott Gotkine, and today I'm joined by the founder and CEO of Lise, Mark Kepeneghian. Great to have you with us.
Hello, Elliott. Nice to meet you, and nice to be here.
Lovely. Okay, so before we get cracking, we are going to learn a little bit more about Lise. So, Mark, tell us about Lise.
Lise is a newly licensed stock exchange, the first tokenized market infrastructure in the world, where we operate an MTF, multi-trading facilities, also a central security deposit, and we have a tokenized deposit to handle the settlement. So Lise is a real stock exchange handling listed equity, but in a natively tokenized form. We already opened up the market in April and launched successfully the first IPO on our stock exchange, and it was the first tokenized IPO worldwide. And so, a totally new way of handling market infrastructure. And also, we are a 24/7 stock exchange, which is totally new. Our market never closes, and there is no other listed equity stock exchange that operate like that in the world. And we have instant delivery versus payments. And that's totally new also, because when you have a stock exchange in Europe, it's in 2 days, in the US it's in 1 day, and to have instant change a lot the way of market infrastructure operates.
Right, and as you say, you had your first IPO in April, so obviously it's early days in terms of the, I suppose, what it is you're trying to achieve. But what is the opportunity here? What are the growth? How many companies listed on your exchange do you expect by the end of 2026, for example? Or how big is this going to go? Well, how big is the opportunity?
So we want to relaunch IPO in Europe. That's our primary goal. We hope to do 2 more IPO this year, but we aim to do 2 IPO per month in like 15, 18 months. So that will be massive in France, because you have very low amount of IPO. So we really want to relaunch IPO in a new way. But also we are, as I mentioned, innovation into market infrastructure. And that means that our technology or the way we operate Lise could serve other use case, other financial instrument, and that will be kind of our future. So launching IPO is our priority. Listing of French and European SME is our priority, but we also want to be the impulsion of a new way of thinking our market infrastructure work.
And you mentioned SME, small and medium-sized enterprises. To that end, certainly for now, it would seem that you're not competing directly with, say, Euronext. But is that the ultimate objective, to be competing, to be bigger, or perhaps even just to provide the infrastructure to them? What's the dynamic here between your exchange and the bigger and better-known exchanges that are already out there?
So what we see is Lise is very new in terms of technology. We speak of tokenization, we speak of instant delivery versus payments, we speak of a way that we disintermediated the post-market, because we are the market, we are also the CSD, and all happen internally. So we wanted to show to the world the real interest of those new technology. And the best way of doing that is to be useful. And, French, European SME need capital, and it's very hard for them to find equity, to find capital. And I said to myself, it is the problem we are going to solve to show the impact of our technology. And if we can create a market infrastructure, a stock market that is answer to that problem that we have in Europe since decades, the fact that it's very hard to really redirect savings into a real economy, into SME. If we achieve that, we show to the world the impact of our new technology, and we will go after that on other use case that maybe more traditional stock market use case,
Okay. All right. So we've heard about Lise. Let's now learn more about Mark. So, Mark, I understand you haven't had a huge amount of time for many other things since you founded Lise, some 8 years ago or something. But you did find time to have a 2-year-old daughter. So how do you balance running a still relatively young fintech with family life?
Yeah, it is not that easy because Lise is very intense. And in parallel of the fact that I'm the CEO of Lise, I'm also the board member of French Fintech, which is the main French Fintech association. I'm also the vice president of ADAN, which is the European Web3 Association. I'm newly nominated at the French Market Authority Market Commission to help to bring tokenization to the regulator side. And I share some tokenization group, notably one for French government, Banque de France and IMF, to bring tokenization in long term in France. So kind of heavy, but that's necessary. I'm happy that Lise is first of a kind in the world, and it's happening in France. It's rare that you have world first in France in new technology. That's too bad, but it's rare. So it's very demanding in terms of time, but I'm trying, notably in the weekend, to have all my time for my daughter, Felicia.
Right, I was going to say her name's not Lise, is it? But I guess not. You just gave that away. But it's good that in the last 2 years you've launched not one but 2 babies. Obviously very different ones. One being Lise and one being your daughter. But it certainly sounds that you keep yourself busy. But look, a key part of this interview is to get your take on the future of finance. But first, we are going to take a very quick break, after which we are going to continue our conversation with the founder and CEO of Lise, Mark Kepeneghian. Welcome back, and don't forget, if you're not already a full member of our community, everything you need to join can be found at www.parisfintechforum.com. Okay, so now, Mark, let's talk about the future of finance. So, Mark, tokenization obviously is at the heart of kind of your stock exchange. I mean, how does tokenizing shares beat traditional exchanges? You've talked about settlement, speeding up settlement, for example. But just give us a better sense of how, in general, not specifically for Lise necessarily, even though you are the first. In general, how does the concept, the idea of tokenizing shares beat traditional exchanges in terms of speed, in terms of cost, in terms of access to investors?
So, exchange and stock exchange is all about changing the property of a share. And before it was paper, then we have the digitalization of share in like 30, 40 years ago, and Nasdaq created themselves with that. And thanks to it, it's a lot more efficient. You have algorithm trading, efficacy trading, and you have T+1, T+2 settlement in Europe and in US, and tokenization is the next part. Since, as I mentioned, for 3 decades, financial market infrastructure didn't see a lot of innovation. It's complicated, and it's worked with a lot of intermediaries. So you have the market, you have the broker dealer, you have the CCP, you have the platform in Europe from the ECB Target 2 securities, you have the central security deposit in French in Europe, company like Euroclear, in US, company like DCCC, and you have the issuer. So a lot of intermediaries to make you, Elliott, buy a listed share. And as I mentioned, it didn't move since decade. And tokenization is the way of making it a lot more efficient and with less intermediaries. So with tokenization, you have in Europe, because model can change, notably in the US, where you have only one CSD. But in Europe, the market can be its own CSD and can handle the delivery versus payment internally without counterpart risk, so without CCP and without using the ECB platform. So you go from 7 intermediaries and a T+1 or T+2 day delivery versus payment to 1 intermediaries with instant delivery versus payment. So it changed radically the way the market infrastructure operates.
And I suppose it also makes it more feasible for small and medium-sized enterprises to have IPOs and to raise money that way, which also makes me wonder if it's still challenging for SMEs to raise financing. We've seen a lot of innovation in kind of SME banking, SME loans, and in that space. And I'm just wondering if this is just to give them another option, or if this is part of the solution to the problem of SMEs still struggling to get financing.
You know, IPO are great. The SME in Europe finance themselves through IPO until 2000. And it's over because the market infrastructure became older, become more costly, and you have very enormous fixed costs. So SME with low cap make it not worth it. With a more efficient market infrastructure, you can adapt your costs, you can adapt your process to smaller company for whom IPO is too complicated. The thing is, when you are looking at industrial European SME, they don't have a lot of equity solution. Often debt is with their bank, there are some actors, but for equity, they generally don't have a lot of solution. So it's not, in reality, we are not in competition with other equity solution, because all the SME we are speaking with, and that's 100, are looking only at debt for the moment. And so we want to be the capital solution. And that's the key of what we want to do, is to redirect saving into capital. And they need capital, and Europe need their SME to have capital, but there is not a lot of solution here today.
We do. I suppose what you're also doing, and I know you haven't used that phrase yet, and maybe it's not a phrase that you use, but often with financial innovation, we hear the phrase kind of democratizing investing and things like that. So kind of giving more access to more investment opportunities, let's call them, that perhaps retail investors, individual investors wouldn't ordinarily have. But often you get a sense that certainly in the US that often happens, when the smart money has kind of gone somewhere else, and then it's kind of, opened up. I'm just wondering if that's a fair depiction of the way things are. If you find yourself having to put down such suggestions, or if now it is a good thing for markets to generally be more accessible in all their forms, in all kind of financial instruments to ordinary investors.
So we are a real stock exchange. Everybody can invest in share listed on Lise. It's real listed share, and more than the distribution side, what we're bringing is listed SME, and it's very rare on traditional market to have listed SME. And generally, when you want to invest in SME, you do it with unlisted process, with a private equity fund. You do it manually. So it's totally new for retail to invest in SME in a listed way. And For retail, investing in the listed way is more secure. You have liquidity, you have due diligence made by the stock exchange, you have a process that protect the retail investor. So we think that for retail, you have only win by investing with a listed way versus a private equity way. And that's our goal. So same issuer, in possibly, you can invest in a SME that are unlisted or is listed on Lise, but the fact that you invest in the SME listed on Lise make you able to have liquidity, standardized documentation, semestrial information, and you have also a digital way to invest. Invest in the IPO is free on Lise, and it gives access, and it make it changed the way you can finance your SME. Yeah.
And I just want to ask you about regulation, because I think Europeans often complain, or there's often a criticism leveled at European regulators that regulation relating to whether it's tokenization or crypto or digitalized assets is somewhat behind, lagging behind certainly the United States and in Asia and other places as well. Lise would suggest that perhaps regulators are, on top of the game, perhaps at least in France and perhaps in Europe as a whole. What's your sense of where regulation is in the tokenization space? Are European regulators on top of things? Are they dragging their heels? Are they where it should be? What's your sense?
So in that case, Europe is far ahead. We have the TLT pilot regime, who makes since 2023 the ability to have tokenized stock market in Europe. And that's a totally new regulation, and other jurisdictions don't have it yet. Still, Lise is heavily regulated. And that's okay for us because, as I mentioned, we are a stock market, we are a central security deposit, so we are the notary of our own stock market. So we see regulation as something very needed to give investor confidence into the stock market. But we are heavily regulated. But we are very happy to do it in France, in Europe, and we are in discussion with some other jurisdictions, looking at what we are doing to see if they can adapt them to make sure they can evolve like that.
Well, again, I don't want to talk specifically too much about Lise, but just looking in general at the kind of tokenization of assets, it would seem that if SMEs today are having IPOs on this kind of tokenized exchange, then tomorrow there could be many more SMEs and larger companies, until we get to a point that perhaps traditional IPOs are no longer happening, and perhaps those lucrative advisory fees that Wall Street banks live off, maybe go by the wayside as well. Is that something that you would expect to see?
Yeah, tokenization is like the industrialization of IPO. And of course, today is tailor-made, they have high fee, but all is done manually. You have the network of those banks, etc. If it become industrialized process, standardized IPO, like we saw in every other industry, the costs will be a lot smaller, and it will be a business of volume. And that's so cool.
Wow. And so, I mean, in this brave new tokenized world that you envisage, where does artificial intelligence come into things? Because obviously that seems to be, all anyone is still talking about these days. But where does AI come into to kind of the tokenized asset space?
So, in a lot of places. First of all, we can use AI to ease the IPO process, because with AI you can make the fact that you are creating a prospectus of the equivalent of a prospectus a lot faster, because with golden source document they can write a first version of the prospectus, and you can ease and fasten the process. You can also use AI to have analysis of semestrial reporting of each company, to create analysis of them and to push, maybe by independent analysis, the share price, targeted share price, which is very hard on SME to have equity analysis because it's very expensive to follow small company. And with AI, we can make it a lot less expensive. We are using AI to help to identify market abuse. As a stock market, we apply market abuse, and AI is a tool used by Lise to make sure we can see some pattern that may be hard to see without AI. Yeah, in a lot of space we are using AI.
So, I mean, those are the positives, I suppose. I mean, we did see earlier in the year, in April, that Anthropic came out with its new kind of Mythos ability, which can find vulnerabilities in all sorts of systems, and there are big concerns among financial institutions that that there's a danger that they could fall behind, and that these kind of technologies could make it easier for bad actors to gain access to their systems and whatnot. What's your sense of how financial institutions are shaping up in the face of these potential challenges?
Yeah, for me, of course, it's maybe some trouble if you find some vulnerability, but we can use AI to do pen tests, penetration tests, white box or black box. And so we can prepare ourselves to that with the same tool they will be using. So yeah, we can make our market infrastructure cloud proof.
So you can stay one step ahead.
I hope so.
Okay, well, I think we all hope so as well. All right, Mark, so look, it's time now for our round of rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So I've got 90 seconds on the clock. I'm going to start the clock, and then we will get through as many questions as we can. And just remember, I'm looking for one-word answers. Okay, so one-word answers. If you can't answer, you can just say pass. We'll move on to the next one. Okay, so without further ado, away we go. What fintech segment, in your opinion, has the biggest potential over the next 5 years?
Tokenization.
What is the biggest pain point in your everyday financial life that you would like to see resolved?
Financing.
Are bank bosses ready for the AI revolution?
Yeah.
Are customers ready for the AI revolution?
Yeah.
Do you think regulators in Europe and in the United States have been keeping pace with all the new possibilities and behaviors we're seeing in the financial industry?
Kind of.
Have you personally ever invested in crypto?
Long time ago, not really.
Okay. Are physical points of sales part of the future of finance? Yes or no?
Oh. No.
No. Okay. Are bank branches part of the future of finance?
Yeah.
On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 the most likely, 1 the least likely, how likely is it that in the next 10 years, one of the neobanks will be as profitable as a top-tier legacy bank? Out of
4.
10. That CBDCs will become a mainstream reality in the US or Europe?
Europe.
No. Out of 10.
In Europe, 8. In US, 2.
That you will be able to open a crypto account at a top-tier bank?
9.
That SWIFT, we'll finish this question, that SWIFT will still be the main tool for transferring money around the world? Out of 10?
7.
Okay. So, Mark, as you heard with my alarm that we are unfortunately out of time for our round of rapid fire questions and for our conversation. So I really just want to thank you for joining me today. That is Mark Kepeneghian, the CEO and founder of Lise. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Elliott.
And for everyone watching, we will be back again next time with another big name from the world of finance and technology. We do hope you'll be able to join us again then. In the meantime, don't forget to subscribe to the Paris Fintech Forum YouTube channel and to follow us on X at Paris Fin Forum. That's all for now. See you next time. Bye-bye.